Welcome to Somewhere Nerdy Radio. We are your hosts. I am Snarf Chris.
I'm Critter.
Welcome to the show. Go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the other social medias. Go yell at Critter for not having a TikTok that we've been promising for a whole entire year.
It is my fault. Part of it was because I was trying to have a nice background. So people, when I film them, they would see the background.
Just won't have to look at our faces.
Yeah, because I'm not interesting. No one wants to say that.
I think you're good looking.
Thank you.
No problem.
You and my mother.
Go follow us on, like I said, all the social media. Go follow us on all the podcasts.
I'm lying, my mother doesn't do that.
She has to. I don't have to. Go follow us on all the podcast apps, whatever podcast app you were listening to at this very second. Pause it and go leave us 5 stars, thumbs up, hearts. I think it's on
just
Spotify.
the highest review you can possibly do.
Yeah, you can write whatever you want in the comments. Leave us some movie suggestions in the comments. So that'd be nice. Write us a review and then leave us a movie suggestion. We love movies. We do movie reviews on this podcast. On this particular podcast, we're going to do in a No Particular Order podcast. What is that, Critter?
No Particular Order is our list podcast, and we list things in no particular order because a lot of times we don't like ranking because that creates controversy, and that is a topic for a different show. That is usually our unpopular opinion show, when we rate something higher than others, and that's when we fight. That's when we argue.
It's been weird. Last one, which we did like a few months ago or a month ago, we agreed. It was about Batman. So
I mean, there's only so many you can choose.
Yeah.
And then we talked about, there was some debate, but it was good reasoning. We're like, excellent point. So I feel like Val Kilmer got higher and some other people went lower.
Yeah. But
we had good and bad, and they were just like, they were rock solid.
So what we're doing tonight is mostly because this can almost be a it's okay to be wrong kind of mixed with a particular order.
Yes.
But it's in no particular order because there are so many horror movies that come out nowadays that people call the scariest movie of all time.
And honestly, I fall victim to it because I'm like, ooh, it's going to be scary. And then I watch it, and I'm like, what the fuck?
What the fuck did I just watch?
This wasn't scary.
It wasn't scary at all.
This
it was
wasn't
stupid.
even good.
Yeah.
So, and what sucks is so many people find things like, oh, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. Sometimes it's just too gory.
Yeah.
And that necessarily isn't scary.
That's not scary. That's
it can
gory.
But it can
be. Yeah.
So, but here's the situation that we're trying to, like, okay, so I watch mostly horror movies and then rom-coms. Don't get me started.
Yeah. Guess what we will never do on this podcast? Rom-coms.
We'll see,
we probably will.
We'll see what happens come Valentine's
I don't
Day.
watch many rom-coms. Oh, man, that's the problem.
I'll give you a list.
Yeah, that's fine. Imagine that. Hey, hold Critter to that in Valentine's Day next year of 2023.
Do not think I don't.
We're
have
doing
a
Valentine's. What is it? Is it 13?
13? 14.
Oh, 14. Yeah, you're right. Let's do 14 nights of
No, that's all of them. That's all the good ones. I'm not doing that. We can just do one.
Don't hold us to that. Anyway, all right.
I can give you a list. But anyway, so
we're going to talk about
our top 10 scariest movies that scare us personally in no particular order.
And a lot of these things happen for different reasons, some of these movies.
And some of these, like, scare us both. Some of them, I mean, like...
Yeah, there's some crossovers in our list that we had to kind of, like, go, we can't both choose that movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the scariest movies.
We will let you know what would have made our list.
Yes, yeah. And this kind of came from, I started looking, there's another movie we're going to talk about in our Halloween list, our 13 Nights of Halloween. And then I started looking up this scary movies. And their scary movie list, go type in the scariest horror movies into Google and just look at those lists. Some of them have fucking Underworld on their list. Underworld. You know, the Kate Beckinsale leather suit vampire werewolf scary movie.
Maybe they were scared how hot it was or something.
I have the weirdest boner now. I'm scared of it. It's those are the type of things and people that write these lists. Critter sends me lists all the time, and I'm just like, who the fuck wrote this?
Let's preface it with, I send the list, and I usually say garbage ranking.
Yes, he does, all the time. And we do that back and forth all the time. Like, look at this fucking list. So we're going to do a list of things that just personally scared us in our movie history of watching movies, which for me it started in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put two on I'm gonna say two that aren't on the list, but scared me, and it kind of led me down this path.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get started?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Start.
Okay, so the first thing that ever really scared me was the library ghost from Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the ambience of the whole scene was super
Is that
scary.
your first?
No.
Okay.
This is just to get them out of the way. This
Yeah.
is what led me down the horror path.
Okay.
So that scared
Library Ghost is terrifying.
Yeah,
especially when I watched it.
Oh yeah, and it jumps out at you when you're a little kid. You're like, "What the
I
fuck?"
100% watched that in the 80s. I was probably already desensitized to things, and that still scared the fuck out of me.
I mean, because and then the very first thing I watched that just stuck with me was Lost Boys.
Yeah, man, I didn't even think about Lost Boys.
But it's not scary.
It's not scary.
Now that I watch it when I'm older, I'm like,
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's still good, and the vampires look scary. But I mean, like, I'm not like, no. The list that I have is movies that I'm like, I don't know if I can watch again by myself. I want to watch them, but I'm kind of scared
So on my personal list, there's only one movie that I watch somewhat regularly. All the other movies on my list, and I'll talk about each one of them when it comes on, I've only seen at tops 3 times.
And I usually watch them with other people that haven't seen them.
Yeah, actually,
I want to show them.
I think so. Yeah, I think I've only seen them, or I've been places that they have been on, and it's like I'm uncomfortable that the movie's on in the corner.
It's like I'm the Aladdin of scary movies. I can show you the world. Some super scary bullshit.
All right, Critter, how about you go ahead and get into our first movie?
In no particular order, the first scary movie on my list is... Now, this is an early scare for me, and I've had nightmares about this movie ever since I was a kid. Still do. Love the genre, but dear God, this movie still creeps me out. I feel trapped. I feel scared. I feel like... And it's Night of the Living Dead, 1968.
Great fucking movie.
Yeah. This movie scared the hell out of me. And then the 1990 movie came out. It did no favors for me.
Yeah. A far better movie, the 90s. We talked about this on the podcast. This movie didn't... some reasons, like, this would never be on my list.
I never saw something that was so graphic before.
Yeah.
You know?
I can understand that.
I mean, when they're eating, like, the raw chicken, like, I know it's chicken, but, like, when I was a kid, it looked like they're just eating flesh.
People. Yeah.
They are. And it was just, oh, man. And then just the 90s version came out. So I'll just group them together, because the 90s version, when they ate the field mice and stuff, I mean, like, all of it was just super creepy. And
both great movies.
Great movies. I feel like the 68 had a better ending, but
that was a talking point. Not even debatable.
Yeah. Then I think the 1990 was a better movie, like shot and production and money wise, but 1968, God, there's not much that beats that. And that movie just creeps me out. And the black and white, they're coming to get you, Barbara, and then they do come and get you.
So my dad used to do that to me.
Yeah.
I'm coming to get you, Christopher.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, it's really fucked up.
And I still have nightmares about zombies.
So whenever I was younger, I got a colorized version of the original Night of the Living Dead on like one of those mail-in DVD club things. You know?
You got screwed.
Yeah, I paid like $30 for that DVD. No, I paid 1 penny for it, and I had to pay $50 for all the other DVDs I got. And my parents were so pissed that I signed up for it. I'm like, how was I even allowed to sign up for it? I just answered a phone, and it was literally a phone call. That's how I signed up for it. So anyway, but then I watched it with my parents, because my parents are not horror people at all. But my dad saw Night of the Living Dead in a drive-up theater. He's like, I'll watch it with you. And then he did that shit to me. They're coming to get you, Christopher.
I mean...
So the movie doesn't scare me, but I understand why. Well,
okay, so part of it, it's trapped. Trap movies scare me. It's not even that I have claustrophobia. It's the idea that you have to reinforce and you have to like worry about stuff. I mean, and this goes
not knowing what's happening
this
outside.
Goes with every trap movie, Green Room, Demon Knights, Feast, all of them. They all are from this kind of genre.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like, it may not be zombies, but it's trapped, and it's you trying to figure out how to survive in a very limited space, even a big space, which makes it somehow worse. But it's just terrifying to me. That's my first pick.
And my first pick is The Exorcist.
Excellent choice, man. Nothing is...
This movie
will screw up more than this sort of thing.
This movie probably had more of a lasting effect in my horror watching as I gotten older. My mental stability, then I don't think any movies ever affected me as much as The Exorcist.
It's the things they say, it's the things they do.
The visualness of it, the sounds.
The special effects, the makeup. Oh my god, dude. They're like, I remember just seeing a picture of Linda Blair in the makeup, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it still scares me to this day to see her like that.
So I've only seen this movie, like, take away, like, when I watched it in probably the 80s, when I watched it way before I should have, by myself in a room, and I watched the entire fucking movie, and it was more like watching it because you were scared to get up to turn it off, and this is before fucking remote controls or anything like that, and I'm sitting in the living room and I'm watching it on a fucking TV, and I think there's a possibility this was on Laserdisc or it was a VHS that my dad rented or something along those lines, because I watched a lot of horror movies before this, but this is the first time I watched a fuck you horror movie.
Well, it's the things they say. I'm telling you, like.
So imagine being like in the 80s. I was no older than 8 in the 80s. So let's say I watched it in 89. I watched this movie. My oldest kid's 11 at this point, and there's no way I would let her watch this.
Oh no, I wouldn't let people that don't like scary movies watch this.
No,
I would introduce them to many other things before this.
Yeah, it's a classic, and I think everybody should watch this movie.
If you're into horror, this is not something everyone should watch.
It has its place in history.
It absolutely
like
does.
100 years from now, they're still going to watch The Exorcist.
Okay, two stipulations about that. Either you're into horror and you absolutely have to see it, or you're a movie guru in which you have to see it because it is iconic. Yeah. But dude, this is
going to fuck up some people.
And again, this is an older movie, so it has some issues of like later on. But it's so messed up.
It's so realistic.
It will stick with you.
And then from the eyes of a kid, and this is a forever movie so now the last time I seen this movie, and I remember the last time I seen it, I was at the haunted house in New Orleans, House of Shock, which used to be put on by the band Pantera. And while you wait in line, they show clips of movies. And I'm sitting there, I'm with my one of my younger brothers. We're having a few beers. And then I hear it, and it's behind me, the movie theater, the screen, and I hear it, and I'm like, fuck. And they make you watch 15 minutes of that movie before you go into the haunted house, and it fucked up my entire night. That's how much. That's why it's on this list. So.
I met the lady that did the voice of Satan, of the possessed girl.
Or the Reagan, yeah. Awesome.
At a Catholic school when I went to Catholic school. Yeah, it was strange. She was a
so like again, I understand the love for this movie. I understand why it's hard. It's got its place in history. So.
Well, again, this will either, if it doesn't scare you, it will leave a taste in your mouth, and it'll be something that you're gonna be like, ooh, I don't know if I should let other people watch that because even if it doesn't scare you. If you were to
it's gonna fuck you up.
It will even if you're just so desensitized, you can't recommend this to anybody. So, and that's one of the things. This will scare a lot of people. Like Underworld, I'm like, yeah, watch it.
Yeah,
even Lost Boys. But this movie, I'm like, wait, you can't just start with this. All right, next up on the list that I got for you here. Now this one was kind of a deep cut. It's a kind of direct to DVD at the time, and I put it on a Halloween list a long time ago. But overall, it has some super scary parts. It has a slow middle, but honestly, like a great twist ending. Yeah, and it is The Last Shift.
So I didn't see this movie until you told me about it. And I put it on the list, and I watched it. Yeah,
trap movie though.
Yeah. So this is about a cop.
A cop. She's doing the last shift at a police station. They're shutting down to open up a new police station. So they're like, hey, some people are coming at the end of the at some point tonight to get the last of the stuff.
And it turns all culty and murdery.
But apparently a cult leader. A satanic cult leader was arrested and put in an interrogation cell or whatever, and him and his followers hung themselves in the cells, and they haunted the place since. And then all kinds of weird and oh my god, it's atmospheric, it's fucking creepy.
Low budget, but solid movie. Yeah,
it's well done, practical effects, and
yeah.
then just like jump scares that you don't expect.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even like what it's like. She's just talking to a guy, and then he turns around and his head's blown out the back of his head.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck?
So I've seen this maybe a couple of times since you put it on the list. Yeah, there are scenes in this movie that it's like one of those kill scenes that happen in the movie that sticks with you.
Yeah, and
jump scares and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's like a building of dread. So I mean, but it's a movie I can't watch a whole lot because it'll mess with me.
Next on my list is another classic that messed me up a whole lot when I was a kid, and it's Pet Sematary. So there's, man,
I was a little kid, and this creeped me out about little kids.
Yeah, for sure. Even that kid's so cute. In the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. I don't know his name or anything, but he is super creepy in that movie, and that's not even the thing that messed me up in this movie. So there's a particular scene in this movie that the main character's wife kind of it's freaking out about a bunch of things that happen. This is after the kid gets killed and everything, and they bury him in Pet Sematary. He's already came back. The cats came back. Eddie Munster, Herman Munster lives across the street if you've seen the movie, and she hears some noise upstairs, and she goes up there, and it's her mom, which has been dead forever or something like that, but she's very gaunt, looks like a witch.
She does like
crawls across the floor saying, "I'm gonna twist your back just like you," and then she closes her eyes, and it's the fucking creepy kid that was that scene right there is something that stuck in my head, just like Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman. You know that scene,
old crones, man, they're scary.
Yeah. And she looks witchy, like very stereotypical witch.
But like what you would think a scary witch is,
like
not
a realistic,
not
scary witch.
Not like when you see on Halloween decorations. But
yes,
but I get that.
Yes,
but the scene in Pet Sematary that will always haunt me is the cutting of the Achilles tendon. That one when Herman Munster bit it, and then that kid slashed his thing and then attacks him. I mean, like Ken will agree with me from Watch Your Mouth podcast. We talk about this a lot about just Herman Munstering when you just lay down and die. Yeah. I mean, that dude is giant. Yeah. And the fact he couldn't take a little kid, I get it. He could have football punted him. Just like the kid only weighs so much. Pick him up and throw him. Like, I get it. You lost your foot, but your upper body, dude, just pick him up, toss him out the window.
Yeah, and it's right after that scene is also another scene that really fucks me up is when the dad kills the son by injecting him with it. And the kid just kind of stumbles down the hallway, and he kind of falls down, and he sits down, and he looks at the dad, and he's like, "You're mean, Daddy." And I'm like, and I was young when I watched this fucking movie. This is a movie I don't watch this movie. So this movie has fucked me up.
The remake was pretty scary too.
It was. It had
John Lithgow as Herman Munster.
Yeah.
Great actor.
The main actor, no, it was
John Connor.
John Connor.
Yeah, in the Genesis movie.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah. But yeah, this is scary. Like, this movie is scary. The second one, not so much. That also had John Connor in it.
Yeah, but that one freaked me out.
The second one?
Yep.
Yeah. It was because I think it was
the
Dad
rabbits
in the second one.
And the rabbits, when they were skinning the rabbits, that was creepy. All right, moving right along to my next one. Now, this one messed me up quite a bit. And mostly because this one's actually pretty scary until you get to the end, and then you're just like, oh, it was not much payoff. And it's a PG-13 movie, which sucks for a scary movie because I know whoever wrote this wanted it to be
PG-13.
Yeah, because apparently it was a short, and it got turned into a movie because people found it so creepy. And it's called Lights Out, and it's based on that. You know, you turn the lights off, and you see someone in the doorway, and then you turn the lights on, they're gone. Turn them back off, they're there or closer. Turn it back on.
This is you had this on a Halloween list at one time.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I think this was the first time. I know I've seen it, and I know I've seen a lot of the scenes from this movie.
There's a lot of creepy scenes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, collectively, it's a scary movie until you see the big reveal of what the thing actually looks like. And then you're like, nah. Yeah. But that was just me. Yeah. But overall, I knew it scared me. Even though it let me down, I knew it fucked with me because I was in the shower and I was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, why do I have soap in my eyes? Why do I have soap in my head? So I'm trying to punch the soap out of my eyes. I was like, God, get out of here. Get out of here. What was that? What was that? Pulling this shit. And then I'm immediately thinking, please don't let me die naked.
Nice.
Yeah. That's
Somebody's going to find me.
That's a fear I have.
I'll be embarrassed even after I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. This poor guy. But this alone has that kind of like
Dread.
Yeah. And this one is not a trapped one, but it's that, is it there, is it not?
Yeah, for sure.
And this movie did a very good job, and I do think that this movie had so much more potential if it would have been R.
Good movie, though.
Yeah, it was good.
I like this movie.
Great acting.
Other than the ending, yeah.
The overall, I mean, even this ending of the story was good. It was the reveal of, because they showed what the thing actually looked like, and I didn't need to see
Which is the problem with a lot of modern horror movies, unfortunately.
Horror movies in general.
Yeah, horror movies in general.
Have always been like that. And remember an episode of Doug had that. They were so scared to go see that movie, and then he was like, he thought he was a chicken.
Original Doug too, right?
Yeah,
and Nickelodeon Doug.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he was like,
not Disney Doug.
And
fake Doug.
And then it was like, oh, it's the last day it's going to be in theaters, because apparently that was a thing back then. He's like, we got to go see it, Pork Chop. And then they go and see it, and he forces himself to watch it, and he goes, oh, there's a zipper there, and it's the dumbest looking monster I've ever seen. Yeah, that's the same thing that happened. It's been around. Even Doug did it.
So my next movie is also something that we've had on our list before, I'm pretty sure. Actually, a lot of movies we were talking about has been on our 13 Nights of Halloween coming up in the next month. The Strangers. And this movie only messes me up because it's mostly the genre of horror movies I don't watch a lot of is realistic horror.
Oh, yeah.
This is about the most realistic horror you can get.
I mean, it's technically based on a true story. I'm doing air quotes on that, but I
Texas
mean, like...
Chainsaw Massacre is based on a true story, too, but yeah.
Yeah, air quotes.
Yeah, air quotes. This movie is creepy. This movie sucks. You know where I live. I live in the sticks.
That is Stranger's territory.
Yeah. If this happened to me legit... nobody would know about it for days.
Oh, yeah.
And this is just about a married couple that are in a house and they get a knock on the door and it's fucking bunch of creepy people in a mask that's there to terrify them. Why? And kill them. Why? Because they were home. Because they get told that's why they're about to get killed.
Oh, and the masks in themselves aren't necessarily... They're not even
creepy.
necessarily scary.
If you saw them at Disney World, you wouldn't think anything about them.
Well, you would, because they would stand on like, why is that so creepy? Because it's not like the scary clown mask. It's not like overly grotesque. It's a burlap sack with like a smiley face on it. And you're like,
oh, that one would, yeah, that one.
And then the other ones were just kind of like, hey, it's Baby Doll. And like a Betty Boop looking.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just kind of sitting there going.
So this is a home invasion horror movie. I don't like home invasion horror movies. This movie I've seen
Dennis
twice.
Reynolds from It's Always Sunny's in that one.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
This is Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's a movie you should watch. It's a good movie.
It's super good. It will scare you.
Yeah, it'll scare you.
If you live out in the woods, you will think twice. If you live
anywhere within like not touching distance of your neighbor, this movie is going to scare you.
Yeah. Actually, just in general, it will scare you if you live alone. All right. So I have been a big fan of James Wan. Scary stuff.
I wasn't until recently. I think because of you.
And he kicked it off with Saw, which was amazing, and I think was the scariest one of all the Saws. And there's some good ones and there's some bad ones.
They all kind of blend together, but
yeah. After 2, they all are pretty much the same. But then he released this absolute banger of a movie. It's just,
also based on a true story.
Air quotes. That, oh my God, it's The Conjuring. Here it is. It's The Conjuring. Everybody knows it. And they even showed the scary part in the trailer, I think.
Yeah.
They show the scariest part in the trailer, and somehow it still hits.
Fucks you up every time. It
still hits, man. I mean, they show a crone, which is scary, and they do a lot of atmospheric, a lot of hauntings, a lot of ghost stuff, but
James
a lot
Wan shots, like, the long walking through the entire film set shots.
But oh my God, I'm just talking about it. I'm getting chills. And okay, so many of the things I've shown you and talked about, just to remind you of the scariest scenes that have scared me, the ones I'm talking about. But God, they give me chills still just talking about it.
So I avoided this movie the longest time. And I think it's only because you put it on one of our past lists that I started paying attention to James Wan's horror movies. And this was going to be on my list. And I didn't put it on my list because I knew it was going to be on your list. And it's because of one thing.
It was the clap. I mean, they showed it in the trailer. And you see it in the movie, and it still somehow scares the shit out of you. And it
comes out of, it's so shot so well, and there's so much dread that happens right before it happens.
It's not even...
you don't even know it's about to happen.
But but you
kind of know it's going to happen.
You do, because you see the hands slowly
come out
of the dark, and then you hear, and it's not scary. It's just a clap, and then you're like, what the fuck?
It's the worst thing I've ever seen in a movie.
Fuck.
But there's quite a few. I'm a big fan of James. I'm not as much into the other series because I think it's the Insidious movies. I think the Conjuring movies. I've watched all of those. I haven't watched all the Insidious movies yet. This movie in particular, man, I dig it. I dig it, and it is scary. It is. This is legit. Maybe to me the most modern, actually scary movie that I've seen in a long, long, long time.
Yeah, and without it being gory,
Yeah,
because I mean, like the only one that kind of holds a candle to it in this kind of dread and scariness is Sinister, and you have some fucked up imagery on that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But overall, this movie was scary. It's well written, well shot. It's actually maybe one of the better movies, scary movies that you can see that are actually scary.
Yeah, agreed.
It's by the way, Strangers is another one that would have been on my list as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's
once you told me, I was like, well,
figured.
shit.
Yeah.
So that's watch that one. That one, I'm sure most of you have seen that.
Yeah,
this is not a deep cut. This is kind of like very surface level horror, but it's mainstream. But
it's good.
It is popular for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would tend to think that many horror fans would.
And if you're like a horror fan like me that avoided this movie because it is so mainstream and everything like that, you should 100% watch this movie. You really should. So
I think this.
But it's also not in my rotation of movies that I watch because it messes up my entire day.
I can't. These are not on rotation because I can't watch them. But like so many people would compare Hereditary to being, this one's the scariest movie. That is just 2 hours too long.
Yeah, it really is.
The scariest stuff happens at the very end. It's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
This movie
by the way,
dread.
the shit that happens at the end of the Hereditary...
it's scary.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, like it's the worst thing. It's so fucking scary. I totally agree. Conjuring, the entire movie is that way. It's hard to watch. And it's shot so well, and it's so good.
There's not adult. There's not slow pacing.
No.
It's a long movie.
It's a long movie,
longish for horror, but it's
need it.
Yeah, you're sitting there going, oh god, oh god, oh god.
So the next two movies are kind of this personal fears of me that are been incarnated into movies, and the next one for me is Arachnophobia. This is a movie that I've legit only seen twice in my entire life. I saw it in the 90s when it came out, probably right after when it came out on VHS, it was definitely VHS. Mostly because I'm super terrified of spiders. It's legit one of the worst things that can ever happen to me. But the trailers for it in the 90s were so awesome. I'm like, man, I kind of really need to see that movie. And then I watched it. And then I didn't sleep. I still don't sleep good because of the fucking movie.
Well, first of all, the thinking spider that was avoiding the flamethrower. I mean, come on, what the fuck? But
good old John Goodman, too.
Yeah, I'll tell you the scariest thing for me was in the very beginning when the woman went to turn off her lamp and the spider beep came down bitter. And that one got me. But spiders don't scare me.
Yeah,
even after watching that movie, it didn't bother me. It's roaches for me, baby.
Dude, I've almost wrecked my car one time because I thought there was a spider in my beard.
Well, yeah, that's fun.
You know what it was? It was my beard. So I have legit almost been naked a couple of times because there was a spider on me and I couldn't find it. I will take everything off to make sure I can find the spider. I do not like spiders. They are yay big, and I'm holding up, just my little bitty tiny hands. They're tiny, and I live in the country, so I get spiders in my house. There's spiders all over the place. Yeah. I pay a lot to an exterminator.
It doesn't help with spiders.
It does not.
It's spiders.
They always tell me that. They're like, yeah, you can put sticky traps down, but the thing about spiders is they have little bitty tiny legs. They just walk over the sticky traps. I'm like, what? It's spray poison. He's like, yeah, they have little tiny arms. Well, yeah, they don't touch the poison.
They don't get stuck on their own spider webs that sticks everything.
So spiders are like they're cockroaches, critter.
No, they're not. They're good roommates. They pay rent. They eat bugs. They stay out of your way. Roaches are assholes.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
And I'm terrified of roaches.
Yeah, critter is like legit. I've seen because again I live in the country, so there has been roaches in my house while he was there. I didn't know it at the time, but I was like, oh, there's a roach right there. And Critter did the entire like old school jump on a table. Like, where is it? Where is the roach? I won't sleep in here. No, I'm done.
Now you are blowing that way out of proportion. That's not what happened at all. Because first of all, the reason why I'm afraid of roaches so much is because I was tortured by them.
Yeah.
And I have so many stories about roaches.
Yeah, I know you do.
And
we'll do a whole podcast on it.
I will.
You ever seen the movie Roaches?
No, and I don't want to. Yeah. I've seen Joe's Apartment.
Joe's Apartment's awesome.
But I will destroy a roach. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I can't kill it. Oh my god! I was like, fucking murder!
Yeah.
It's a vendetta. But so like spiders can fall on me. I'm like, oh, gross.
I've gotten better as I'm older. Like it doesn't bother me much now. I don't kill spiders. Like if I find them in the house, I'll look at them really closely, and then I loosely just move them out. So I don't like smashing things for no reason whatsoever. Maybe that's because I'm old and grown a heart 3 times bigger than what it was before.
Sure.
But this movie...
But I get it, because these were thinking spiders.
Yeah, the arachnophobia is like...
And didn't they just... Like,
so it was they
could drain your whole body.
Some hardcore Amazon spider made it with a house spider in the state, and then they just bred thousands of spiders over this. But when they killed you, I think they drained all the juice out of you.
Because everybody they found were mummified, right? Mummified.
It is a good movie. I watched it again maybe 2 or 3 years ago, which is the second time I've seen it since it came out in the 90s.
You can see how rusty I am on it, because I mean, like, I just haven't watched it in a while.
I don't. This is not a movie that I watch.
I don't like them to badmouth my good friend spiders. That's all.
So, what's your last movie on the list, bud?
Okay, so this one, it's in the James Wan universe again, but this is Insidious Chapter 3. So I wanted to change it up a little bit, because I wanted to say James Wan just produced this. He didn't actually write or direct it like he did the first 2, which are scary.
Yep. Yeah, there's parts of them.
Insidious was scary until...
Where's the dancing man?
That's 2.
That's 2, okay.
But Insidious 1 had a lot of scary parts, and then you're kind of like... When you get to it, you're just kind of like...
I saw that fucking thing.
And then you realize it's astral projection. You're like, oh. And I remember thinking I was kind of let down about that. I watched it again, and I'm like, oh. And then I watched 2. This is
why I haven't seen 3.
But 2, I instantly forgot how much I didn't like the astral projection, because it just picked up where 1 left off. You're like, oh, interesting, super cool. But 3 has one of the scariest scenes in a movie I have ever seen. And it's just like, the movie itself is scary because all of it's scary.
Yeah, right.
But this scene, it starts with a jump scare, which you're like, okay. But usually it's not, like jump scare, you're like, okay, I have a little time to recoup or whatever. But, or then it's going to be action. Jump scare, and then this starts with a dread buildup. After a jump scare.
Awesome.
If people at home, Google this scene from Insidious Chapter 3, and just type in Insidious Chapter 3 laptop scene, and watch that bitch. Yeah. There's a version where it's only a minute long, and then there's another one that's like a minute 10 or 20, and that's the one. You want the little bit longer one.
This is the only part of the movie I've seen, because I haven't seen 3. You've shown me this scene
so many times.
And
I get chills every time.
I know it's happening in the scene, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
I mean, the fact that it starts with a jump scare, he scares a girl out of her, scares her, pulls her out of her bed.
And she's like in a...
she broke her legs.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Then you see this monster, or it's just an old man, goopy-looking legs, get down on the ground, from her bed, walk over, close her curtains, and then you see her, and it's, slow.
Very slow.
And then he goes over and closes the bedroom door, so now there's no light besides her laptop.
And it sounds super mundane. But it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
I'm getting chills just talking about it, man. I mean, because it's playing off in my head. And then you see the laptop, and she's like... And then you see the laptop close. And you're like, oh, God. And you think you're prepared. And then, boom! Another jump scare. And I'm like, what the... How did I fall for it twice?
I really need you to sit down and watch all the Insidious movies. I watched the first one, and I was not into it. There's parts of it, like you said.
If you watch the first 3, I think collectively you need to watch them kind of back to back. The first 2 go together really well.
Right.
The third one is a prequel, and this is where it gets murky, because the fourth one is a prequel of the prequel.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's because it's a franchise, and they didn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And the fourth one's terrible.
All right. So the last one is on my list because it's yet another movie I watched really young, and this is kind of not traditional horror movie. It is a horror movie, but it's a movie that really freaked me out when I watched it, and it's the original Jaws movie. And this is again on my list because I watched it when I was young. We went to the beach a lot, Biloxi area. We're from Louisiana, obviously. We went to the Biloxi area a lot, and it took me so much convincing from my family to go. I didn't go into actual beach water for the longest time. I'm talking about like years, like 2 or 3 years. I would play on the sand. I wouldn't go in the water, and it's all because of Jaws. And I'm sure this is not an isolated situation. I think Jaws they did something to the beaches.
It did beaches, and then also like increase. I don't like stuff that paints my good friend Shark in a bad light either.
No, I love sharks actually. I don't.
My boys, spiders and sharks.
I love sharks. It's probably one of them. Like I dig sharks. It's cool. This movie just really, really messed me up with water. There is the opening, the music. I mean, obviously this is a classic, and everybody's seen this movie at one point or another. But there's the opening scene when the first girl gets killed, and she's begging for her life. Messed me up a lot. She's all alone. She's getting pulled down by the shark, and it's that particular scene that I've always remembered. Now everything on my list, I watch Jaws all the time.
Yeah.
Like Jaws, I watch like at least once every 6 months or something like that. It is a perfect movie. It would be up there at a 10 or 11 on of just perfect movies because there's no bad part about this movie. Nothing drags out. Everything makes sense. It's all well acted. Dialogue's perfect. Everything's perfect about this movie. But there's a memory of me being younger and watching this movie that still kind of messes me up about it. Now, that being said, this is one of the first horror movie I ever watched with my daughter.
Interesting.
So it's the one she also remembers, and I told her we watched the movie, and I think I fast forwarded through the scene where the girl gets killed in the beginning of the movie because I remembered I didn't want her to watch that movie. And then after we watched the entire movie, I was like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't let her watch the movie. And then when my wife got home, that's the first thing she told my wife. I just watched Jaws, and she's like...
Well, everybody knows kids are narcs, man.
Yes, they 100%. 100% got ratted out instantly.
I don't think they mean to be, but they are 100% narcs. Never trust a child. Just don't. Be like, hey, keep this between us. They will tell on you.
So like I said, we made this entire list because...
These are things that personally scare us.
Yeah, personally scare us. I also think on any list that you read online, these movies should be on it. Not Underworld, I saw Resident Evil on another list. Those are not scary movies. And I know everything's personal. Like, certain things are going to scare me.
Because I know people don't like gore.
Yeah.
Or like they're freaked out by gore. And I get that.
I mean, there's also no Cannibal Holocaust on this list, and,
Well, I will never watch Sadness again. Yeah. But that's...
Have we talked about that on the podcast yet?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think we have.
Like, that's... Yeah, agreed. There are certain movies where they're just not fun. These are movies that scare me.
Yeah, these are movies that I will watch again, but I don't want to unless I'm watching with somebody, because I watched The Scariest Scene, I think, in existence with you.
Yeah.
And it gave me chills. Again.
Yeah, agreed. So are there any movies that weren't on our list that would be on your list? I'd like to know what other scary movies.
Please tell us some of the scariest movies that you guys have. Tell us. And go back and check out our 13 Nights of Halloween, and we got another one coming out soon. So we'll have a whole nother set of 13 movies that we, it's mix and match, but a lot of them we try to keep as scary as possible.
Yeah, starting, think on around the 15th of October or 16th of October, we will be starting.
There's math involved. We're not doing it right now.
There's math. I'm not doing it right now at all. We'll be starting.
I know it's easy, but don't give a shit about it.
Our 13 Nights of Halloween. It's where we give you a different movie to watch every single night, all the way into Halloween night. Do the math on that. It's 13 nights. Like I said on our last podcast, it is our most popular podcast. It is one of the podcasts me and Critter looks forward to every single year, mostly because Critter is already working on the list for next year. We haven't even recorded the podcast this year yet.
Yeah, I like lists.
Yeah, and he makes good lists. And this list, I'm going to go on a limb. It's one of the top lists you've made so far.
I think the first one was so good.
Yeah.
But I blew my load on that one.
We blew the load on the first one for sure. So anyway, make sure you check back with us the 13 Nights of Halloween. Go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Leave us a review on all the other podcast apps, whatever podcast app you were listening to us right now. Stop, pause, or no, the podcast is over. You can stop listening at this point. Go leave us a review. Delete the podcast. That's totally fine. But go leave us a review.
Positive review.
Positive review. 5 stars, thumbs up, hearts on Spotify, maybe it's SoundCloud. I don't remember which one it is. Go do all those things. It helps us out tremendously. And like I said, we would love to hear what scares y'all. So do that. We have been your host. I am Star Chris.
Critter.
And good journey, nerds.
Good journey, nerds.